What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and I just got done playing about 7 hours of the Star Wars Battlefront II beta, and I wanted to give you my first impression on how it works so far. If you remember, I had some major issues with the first game, mostly having to do with the aiming and boring maps. The question is, were they able to fix these problems, or is this just a repeat of the past? The answer to that is a little bit of yes and no. Let's start by digging into the gameplay itself. In the original Battlefront, if you saw someone long distance, hitting them was almost impossible since every weapon sprayed like a broken squirt gun, making it so accurate fire was annoyingly difficult a majority of the time. This has been completely changed here. As you can see, I'm now able to fly around zapping people, scoring headshots, and generally kicking butt because the lasers actually seem to travel in straight lines now. You have no idea how happy this makes me, because each little encounter is no longer so luck-based. I don't have to hope my bullets will go into their face. If I'm aiming at them, there's a good chance that they'll die before I do. Doing well in combat now also has a real meaning to it, other than just doing nicely on the scoreboard. There's a new system called Battle Points, which basically lets you buy heroes if you're doing awesome in a match. Gathering up a few thousand of these can transform you into someone like Darth Maul and just absolutely wreck players nearby. And also, it has the bonus effect of making you move much faster, which means that if you save these up for an important final push, you can really actually sway the outcome. Along with heroes, if you're in a mode that has vehicles, you can spend points to purchase them, teleporting you instantly into one of these to dominate the field. It's great to use these for times like when you're stuck and want to try and break past the enemy defenses with a tank or do some bombing runs in an airship. This works so much better than the incredibly stupid way they handled it in the first game, where becoming heroes or getting into vehicles was simply done by picking up random power-ups laying on the ground. It truly feels like a reward when you get this stuff, and really, if you see a major villain out there chopping up people with a lightsaber, you know that dude is hardcore because he racked up 5,000 points before he even got to use him. Speaking of core changes to gameplay, while the classes are returning and function mostly the same in their jobs, star cards are totally different. Previously, you'd attach them to a character class in order to get a particular bonus like being better at sniping, but in Battlefront 2, these actually replace abilities of a class. Like, for this guy, I decided to give my heavy assaulter a longer range grenade launcher that fires 3 shells before it needed to cool down instead of his default shield. It fundamentally changed how the character itself would play, and finally, it makes it so we have some real control over how we want to play a character beyond just selecting the guns we carry. I do want to point out that upgrades and the original leveling system are back, so don't worry, the overall progression isn't dramatically different. By playing the characters you like most, you're still able to do stuff like make them stronger and become a slightly different character. You're basically just getting rewarded with more customization options. Unfortunately, it seems like the star cards are going to be gotten almost exclusively from loot crates, but it seems like in this beta at least, earning them isn't that bad. Winning matches gives you like Star Wars bucks, which can be spent to get these extra loot crates and get more star cards. Now that I absolutely hate in video games, but I will give them small credit. At least the crates are broken down by what you want. If you want something that'll upgrade your normal soldiers, you can get that. If you're looking for something that will rework how your ship will operate when you're doing the dogfight mode, you can get that. Or you can just get something to make your heroes better and change their costumes. Making it where we have more options of what we want to unlock is definitely the way to handle this. I was a little bit afraid that it would just be one of those generic loot crates where it's like good, better, best. Okay, so we've talked a lot about ground combat, but what about the skies? This is the mode I just mentioned a second ago, the dogfighting. You can now do missions that just take place out in orbit, in deep space, blowing the crap out of each other, and I guess the controls are good, but it's still not that interesting. The ships just seem so slow, and really my biggest issue is the fact that there are so many AI. Like when you're flying around and scoring all these explosive shots and locking on homing missiles, you think you're doing awesome, and then you notice that every character you're destroying is actually just a computer-controlled enemy. At times, it almost felt like, well, it's one of those single-player game types, because I'm killing so few enemy players, but I guess that's just kind of the thing. You're supposed to just be going in there and having a good little time before you go back to what I consider the main match types. As a whole, I guess I have to say that I like a lot of stuff about this, but I don't really love it. Something about Star Wars Battlefront 2 seems like it's exclusively playing on fans of the original Star Wars. It's made for people who like that universe already. This is not really something for shooter fans. Now that sounds like a weird distinction, but let me explain. If you're playing Battlefield 1, it's not because you're a fan of World War 1. You just like a good, tight shooter with cool upgrades and stuff that constantly makes it feel like you're growing bigger and better. This doesn't really have that. This is just a fun tour through the Star Wars world. Personally, I think a big aspect of the success of this game is going to rely on how good that single-player campaign is. We're actually getting a freaking story this time, and it looks to really be an interesting one, but I don't know. I know a lot of us are probably buying it almost exclusively for that. This multiplayer is cool. It's different, it's changed, and it's better than it was previously, but it's still not fantastic. I just kept bumping into things that really took me out of the experience, like when I kill this guy and his flamethrower just floats in midair, spraying more and more gallons of fire into the air instead of just having him die. Or if I'm playing as Darth Maul and I'm chopping somebody up, this character falls down but he didn't die. He just laid there with full health. Clearly, something is not working right under the hood. These glitches and small errors just kind of reminded me that there does need to be some major work done before release in November. But I'm definitely going to review it, so you'll learn my final thoughts then. Really though, I'm curious what you think. These have just been my random, unscripted, off-the-cuff impressions of how I think it's working so far, but did you get into the beta? What is your favorite class so far, and more importantly, is there anything that you wish they'd add? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, but do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Alright, now I'm going to go hop back in and maybe do a couple more matches of that Theed map. That is really cool. It truly feels like I'm stepping into the films and actually getting to be a droid. Oh, hi. I'm just working on the next video. If you want to see what it is, go ahead and click this button and you can subscribe. Also, if you click these video links, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. Now I'm just going to sit here for a minute and wait for you to subscribe. Oh, I guess I could put on these giant glasses. I literally found these on a roller coaster.